The Birmingham market is changing fast, and if you're buying or selling right now, that could mean saving or losing thousands. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Adam Snow with 𝐂𝐬𝐠𝐵 Realty. I'm your local real estate agent. In today's video, we're diving into the latest trends in the Birmingham market. While fewer homes are selling, we're still seeing properties fly off the market in just a few days. But here's the thing, you can't just look at the market by city or even county. It really depends on the city and the price point. So today, we're walking you through the latest numbers, highlight which areas are seeing the most activity, and talk about what it all means for the buyers and sellers. Whether you're thinking about buying, selling, or just want to keep up with the market, this update will give you all the clarity you need. Let's jump into it. All right, let's get into it. So I wanted to talk a little bit more nationally, and then we'll get into more of actual Jefferson County kind of information. But in June, we saw that mortgage application was 29% higher than the same week the last year. So at, I think it was the third week of June, we saw applications 29% higher than they were last year. So I think it shows you that things are starting to pick up. I think the dam is starting to break. I think you're seeing that a little bit. This is something I've been saying for a while that I thought would probably happen, is we kind of get to a point where buyers just understand that this is just the environment that it is. We're not getting better rates in the foreseeable future, and I have to move. Whether it's downsizing or upsizing, whatever it is, I just kind of get to a point where if I can afford it, we just have to do it, right? I mean, we have had some friends that have had a third kid, and they have had to move. They've had to move. They don't have a choice. Their house is too small for their family. They have to move. On the flip side, I've helped some people that they need a smaller house. They're getting a little older. They need something one level, and they don't have a choice. We have to move. And I think we're starting to see this more and more. And as we get through the numbers, you'll see things picking up some. So I think this is a positive for everybody, that we're starting to see things pick up a little bit. Who knows what the Fed will do? They're supposed to meet next month, and all the people are saying that this is going to be it. This is going to be the month that they make the change. There's a lot of pressure on them. Obviously, President Trump has really been pushing hard to get them to lower rates. I don't know. We'll see. I don't have a crystal ball, and I'm not going to guess, because if you'd asked experts at this time last year where we would be at this point, they would have said we would definitely be in the 5%. Obviously, we're not. So we will see what happens with all that as we move forward. So all of Jefferson County, we had 632 homes sold. Again, we're up from May, and then you can kind of see the previous years. Obviously, we're down the rest of those substantially. 1,100 homes sold in June of 2021. We're double the amount of homes sold. All right, so looking at some more numbers for June of 2025. These are kind of ways I like to break it down, because I think it gives a better idea of what's going on. You can see it's the same as it's been since January. The under 200 was selling for the lowest amount under list price. So percent above list price means what percentage above list price did it sell? And you can see the under 200 was actually negative 7.2%. So on average, it was selling 7% less than list price. And then obviously on the flip side, the above 800,000 was selling the best at 3.66% above list price. And the same thing, I think we've just been, it's that higher price stuff that's selling the best. You can see the days on market as well, shorter, 32 for under 200, and then it works its way all the way down to 4 at above 800. So I think these are things that I think it's really important for, especially if you're a seller or a buyer, to understand going into it with some expectations. Now, again, this is all of Jefferson County, and it would be different kind of city by city, and I will get to those numbers as well. But overall, these are numbers to look at, because it gives a pretty good picture of what's going on as far as each price point in Jefferson County. And then breaking it down by bedrooms as well. So one thing that we've seen is the one bedroom, especially condos. Really, that's all you see is a one bedroom. One bedroom condos are the hardest thing to sell. You can see that the sell price to list price ratio. So again, it's just another way of saying what I was just saying a minute ago. They're selling at 95% of list price. So about 5% off of the list price is what they're selling. And then working all the way up to 4 bedroom was at 99.9%. And again, we're getting into those higher price things at that point. So you can kind of get an idea of where we are. So obviously the 3 bedroom, there's the most sales, which makes sense because A 3-bedroom house is the most typical thing that you see. So again, I think it's really important to see these kind of numbers and see kind of in a general way where everything is in Jefferson County. And when I talk about this to other people, I've talked to some other real estate agents in different areas, that the lower price stuff is the stuff that is selling, is the hardest thing to sell. They're kind of surprised. To me, it makes sense, but I think it's really interesting that this is not a national thing. This is more of a Jefferson County thing. And then looking at bedrooms and expired listings, the 0 to 1 bedroom, almost half of the listings expired. It's almost half the listings expired. The 1 bedrooms. 2 bedrooms was 12%, 3 was 6.64%, and then the 4 and above was 6.27%. But it's just nuts. Almost half the listings that were 1 bedroom were expired. Again, if you're a seller and you own a 1-bedroom condo, it is important to know that it's probably going to take a little while. I actually have a listing right now. It's a 1-bedroom condo. Had this conversation with the seller yesterday. I think we're priced really well. He has a beautiful condo. It's furnished. It looks really good. It's just hard. It's just a hard one to sell right now. And again, just not to beat a dead horse, but days on market, again, the 1-bedroom 42, 2-bedroom is 15, 3-bedroom is 12, and 4-bedroom is 12. So overall, the median for all of Jefferson County is 13 days, which I think is pretty good for almost 7% interest rates. We're at 13%. And then the market absorption rate, which means if no other houses came on the market, how long would it take to sell everything that's on the market? And we are at a 4. And you can see in January, we started at a 5 and we've kind of worked our way down to a 4. Looking at the market absorption rate, which just means that if no other houses came on the market, how long would it take to sell everything that's on the market? And you can see we're at a 4. We started in January at a 5. And we kind of worked our way down to a 4, meaning 4 months. It would take us 4 months to sell everything that's on the market. And I would say that during the peak, when we were at our peak, like 21, 22, this was 1.5. So you can see we've definitely built up some inventory. It's a good way to kind of see how much inventory we have on the market. And we have built up some inventory since then, which it kind of makes sense with all the rates and how everything's changed. Just something to kind of keep in mind as we continue through the year. Okay, Mount Brook, 34 homes sold in June. Median days on market was 3. Median list price was over $1 million. Median sale price was $1.1 million. I mean, we're back to selling over list price in Mount Brook, which is pretty typical. I think May was really the only month that we really didn't sell over asking in Mount Brook, which is it's a pretty typical thing. And as I go through all of these different cities, whether you're a buyer or a seller, these are good things to know, because if you're a buyer, it's important to know where your offer is going to have to come in at. So obviously, if you're buying in Mount Brook, you're going to have to know that there's a decent chance that you're going to have to do an over asking offer. And in this point, almost $100,000 over asking. So it's just something to know that if you're buying in Mount Brook, you're going to have to go over. The same thing if you're a seller, it's just a good way to know that if your house is a good house, priced right, looks good, there's a decent chance it's going to sell over asking. Vestavia saw 73 homes sold. Medium days on market was 3. Medium list price, $673, and then medium sell price was $670, which is a little bit surprising to me that Vestavia is not over asking as well, because earlier in the year they were. January through like March, April, they were. May last year they weren't, and then again this month they weren't, which is just something to keep in mind and keep watching on, because we were selling over asking. Again, this is an average, so obviously there are some houses that are, but on average, we're $3,000 under list price. Homewood, 34 homes sold. Median days on market was 5. List price $507,400, and then median sell price $532. So we're a decent amount over asking as well in Homewood. Hoover, 205 homes sold. Again, this is the biggest city in Jefferson County, so it makes sense that there's 205 homes sold. Median days on market was 4. And this one, median list price was $499,900. Median sell price, $499,900. So on average, they were selling just about at list price. This also tells me that there was definitely some houses that sold over asking as well. So again, something to keep in mind. Downtown, Crestwood, Forest Park, Highland Park. I combine them all because I think they're all going to be kind of related a little bit. 51 homes sold. Medium days on market was 7. Medium list price, $389,900. Medium sell price, $386. So about $3,000 less than list price. And I would suspect that if I broke this down by different areas, Forest Park, Crestwood, probably selling over asking, but again, something to keep in mind. And again, I do these really broadly because if I did them really specific, it would make this video way too long. If you have questions about different areas that I just broadly mentioned or didn't mention, I'd love to go into more detail. You can always put a message down below. You can reach out to me by phone or with my calendar. Again, I'd love to go into more detail, but if I went really specific on each city, it would make this way too long. And again, I combined Fultondale, Gardendale, Mount Olive area as well. 39 homes sold, median days on market was 7, which if you've watched my videos earlier in the year, they were like 30, 35. So we've come way down in this area. Medium list price, $299, medium sale price, $295. Again, if you watched my videos earlier in the year, you know that they were selling a lot less than list price. We're like $20,000 less than list price, but now we're, what, barely $5,000? So things are definitely picking up in some of these areas. 20 homes sold in Irondale, 7 days on market, $349 list price, $345 sale price. So again, we're about $5,000 off. And again, this is another area that days on market were way higher earlier in the year, and things were selling for a whole lot less than list price a little while ago. These are good ways to see that things are picking up, and not just like Mountain Brook, but all of the other surrounding cities as well. So again, I think this is just a great way to see kind of a broad overview of what the market's doing. And I would suspect that July would be even stronger than this, just because the summer is always the strongest. August will be kind of a hit or miss. Sometimes it's really strong. Sometimes with school starting, things kind of slow down. August, September, things slow down for just a second, and then they pick back up. And then they slow down again when we get into Christmas time. So it'll be interesting to see. The Fed's supposed to meet again this month. There's a lot of pressure on them to reduce the rates. We'll see if they do. I know a lot of experts are thinking that they will. I've read mixed things of what's going to happen. I don't know. One thing I will say, and I had a conversation with a seller yesterday. After we looked at comps and what she could sell her house for, she decided that she wanted to wait until the market changed and rates went down. In her mind, that would allow her to get more competition on her house, potentially sell her house for more. All those to be true, potentially. The thing is, though, I don't like time in the market. I don't believe in that philosophy. I don't think that's a good way to think, because we just don't know. Will rates be lower at the end of the year? Maybe. Will it be 26 before we really see any rate change? Potentially. We just don't know. And where will we land? What kind of relief will we get? You know, I just don't know. I don't think anybody really knows, because if you had asked experts in December of last year, they would have said at this point we have already had some rate changes. In fact, most people were predicting at this point that we would have seen some relief, but we haven't yet. And then on the flip side as well, with that, these are things I talked to her as well. Yes, we'll get more competition on your house, potentially, sell it for a little bit more, potentially. But on the flip side, because she was going to buy something, she was going to buy a new build house, those prices are going to go up, because you're going to have more competition, because there are going to be more buyers, because they can now afford things. So it kind of is a pro and a con, because you're definitely going to be able to sell your house potentially for more, because you would think more competition would raise your price. But that works in the opposite when you're trying to buy. So again, I don't necessarily believe in the trying to time the market, because I just don't know. You just don't know. I think that if it feels like it's a good time to buy, if you can afford to buy and you live comfortably, whatever that is to you and your family, I think it's a good time to buy. Now, obviously, if you can't afford right now to buy a house at 7%, then you don't need to. We need to be working on your credit, saving up some money, that kind of things, to when the market is in a better condition. Again, these are all things that I would love to talk to you more. If you have questions about any of the cities I mentioned, like I said, if you have questions about how you can get approved, where you should buy, what kind of lenders to talk to, I would love to help with all of that. I have some great lenders. I work with some lenders that have really great first-time home buyer grant programs, $15,000 that you can use. It's a fantastic program, especially now with everything being so expensive. It's such a great thing to have. So reach out. All my information is below. Again, it's Adam Snow, eXp Realty. Thanks for watching me today.